Here it is. There we go. Look at that, Eddie. Come on. Huh? Come on. What else is there? What else? We're going to go with Gary Priest. Here comes a rambling crew. Jerry, Eddie, Cody, too. Talking geek and crushing puss. Movies, games, 7-inch bush. Here comes a rambling squad. They are the jizz talking gods. Never cheesy, never bore. Contract tied to Skeletor. Here comes a rambling team. Making all the heroes cream. Got all the greatest nerd chads. The Ramble's where it's at. Come on. Remember, it's the final beep.
The final beep.
Wait, it's not that one.
Nope.
Hey!
That was
Welcome
it right there.
Everybody, to
right
the
there.
Ramble Podcast, a geek's guide to pop culture. We are the geeks. I'm cancer fighter, comedian, lover, collector, Jerry Rocha. Right there we have the one and only, my brother from another mother.
Comedian Eddie Pence, also
Eddie Pence.
podcaster.
Also podcaster.
Also podcaster.
Also a lover. Come on, don't
that's
sell
the thing
yourself
now.
short. Also a lover. Also a lover.
Also a lover.
Come on,
of many
with
things.
many things. You're a collector too, Eddie. Come on.
I'm a collector.
Now-
Who just sitting here just randomly has Hulkbuster just right there at their feet? Like not many
Look
people
at that.
do,
No,
but
not
I
many.
do.
No one.
I
No
do.
one.
I
No
do.
one. This is
I
Geek's Guide to Pop Culture. We are your geeks. Here's what you need to do. To the new listeners, welcome. We've wondered where you've been this whole time. To the returning listeners, well, gosh, you already know we love you. Thank you for
know
coming
that.
back. You can subscribe to The Ramble, give it a 5-star rating, a positive text review. If you don't do any of those things, we're going to consider you to be a chump. You can also follow The
we don't want that.
Ramble. No, Eddie, do you know how
a
devastating
chump.
that would be to be deemed a chump?
So devastating.
Okay. You can email us, ramble at theramblepod.com. We're on Instagram at Podcast Ramble. You can see our
Lovely.
beautiful faces on our YouTube page, The Ramble Tube. We have merch, our TeePublic page. Get your Ramble merch.
Right.
Rock it. What else are we doing? You can find all of us. Eddie and I are stand-up comedians. We have
are.
comedy albums just out there.
We do.
Wherever you stream comedy, type us in. Jerry Rocha, Eddie Pence. You'll find us. We both have YouTube pages. I just put out a video, Eddie, realizing how much I loved the oft-maligned Silver Surfer game for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Right.
That thing had been shit on it's not that fucking bad of a game. I'm just saying.
Now, do you believe that wholly, or are you just taking a contrarian stance?
I believe it.
You believe it. You believe it.
Look, it's frustrating as a motherfucker.
Okay.
But it's like, Eddie,
Even as nonsensical as it is,
that's what I think I like the most about it. And this kind of leads into what we're going to talk about
because it's
today.
batshit crazy.
And it's, you know what? The more I think about it, it should be batshit crazy. It's a guy who's made of pure silver, he looks like he's pure silver, and he rides a fucking surfboard through outer space. So, yeah, it's all of it should be fucking ridiculous and stupid and weird and dumb. And you know what I mean? Like all of that. And that kind of leads in, because we're kind of talking about, well, G.I. Joe. We talked.
Yes, big fans.
We've been on a G.I. Joe kick recently.
Love G.I. Joe.
Because the great Zach Dollum, Zachy D. Limbs. He sent us the complete. This guy just sent us the PDFs.
I mean, what?
Are we gonna get him arrested by saying this?
Maybe, but I mean, he just goes, "Hey, I did the Dahlem run." So
what are the cops gonna do? By the
What are the
Dahlem
cops
run,
gonna
you mean
do?
he had the longest run of a positive text review left on
Right.
iTunes for the Ramble podcast. So
felt
here it
like
goes.
8 or 9 months. It felt like
really
8 or 9
did.
months.
It was a hell of a run. And by the way, this is the Ramble Radio, the supplemental edition of the Ramble podcast that we give you every Tuesday and Friday. Eddie, this is 487. To all the new people, when did they bury us? When did they say the Ramble was done? Ramble Radio.
I want to say
what?
7, but I
Wanna
think it
say
was
7.
5.
It was
I
5.
think it was 5.
482
They told us to stop.
later.
We were told to stop.
Still in the game. We do have an email from the great Gary Rickelman. He says,
Oh,
Marvel
Ricks,
G.I.
Ricks,
Joe. Ricks,
Ricks.
Garris, Mans. He says, I like Zachy D. How could you not? Who doesn't?
Who can't? The Dahlem.
Yep. He also went with the Skybound Marvel Compendium. He got the Cobra variation. It's pretty swank.
Ooh.
But in regards to the Ramble in the Marvel G.I. Joe books, Cobra Law never shows up. Serpentor does, but Sergeant Slaughter doesn't factor into his creation, and Slaughter was only in a few issues. But a really good story searching for Zartan in the swamp. Serpentor has pretty much the same origin as a cartoon, though. My first comic ever was G.I. Joe issue 74, which is right smack in the middle of the Cobra Civil War, which Serpentor precipitated. I got to read this. I was like 6 and loved the cartoon, but was confused as fuck as what was happening, but I knew it was awesome. And the battle and the issues of the Civil War are still, to this day, some of the greatest issues of comics I've ever read. The series is kind of slow from 1 to 26, then it blows your dick off from 30 to the end.
And that's what we all want, really.
Who doesn't want their dicks blown off? Thank you, Gary Rickelman. I would take that.
Ricks?
If it was Ricks. So I'm excited. But yeah, we talk about the ridiculousness of the Silver Surfer, like I was talking about how rubber duckies one hit kill him in the game. But that's fine. Again, it's a guy made. He's silver looking and he's flying.
He surfs through space. Yeah,
he surfs where there's no way.
And he's owned. He's controlled by a man who eats planets. So
what else do we this ain't Shakespeare. It's pretty good, but it's not. But I
think you have to take common sensical storytelling and throw it out the window. It's just whatever can happen. It's just crazy shit.
That's why, that's why they do that in comic books all the time. They had Red Hulk beat the shit out of Thor, squashed him. Okay,
yeah.
That's it's like what's that Stan Lee quote? Like if I want Spider-Man to kick the shit out of the thing, he's gonna.
Then he does. We don't have to ground it in any sort of reality because the reality is all
real.
Bullshit.
Right. It's not real. So, but G.I. Joe, when they went off the rails and obviously ran out of ideas.
Yeah.
Dare I say it's shown? Dare I say it was like, where was this my whole life?
Why did we start here? Why didn't we start here?
Let's start with the fucking coven of serpents in the Antarctic where no snake could survive.
Because they're cold-blooded and they would instantly die.
They would all die but why not?
Well, I mean, if you think about G.I. Joe, it's like how many battles could an elite fighting squad have against this secret terrorist organization over and over for the battle of the world? Like at some point, you got to do something else.
Something else has to happen.
Something else has to happen.
All right, fuck it. A giant
G.I. Joe just can't keep kicking Cobra's ass over and over again, and just keep doing that for infinity.
So all right. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make Cobra Commander an immortal scientist who's 7,000 years old, and we're gonna his boss is gonna be a giant snake named Globulus.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
But at that point, if Cobra Commander is immortal, he's been around for 7,000 years, don't you think he could amass so much wealth that he would eventually just become ruler of the world?
Doesn't need Cobra Law. He
doesn't need Cobra Law. He doesn't need to battle G.I. Joe. He would literally weave his way through the political world and eventually become an emperor.
So is he the biggest fuck up in all of villainy?
Might be. If you're immortal and you've been through that many lifetimes, and that means you've dropped the ball. Seriously, dropped the ball.
You've been in charge of Cobra for, you got to think, a minute now.
You've dropped the ball.
Is he the Jeff George of villains? Just this guy?
Got all the talent in the world and just can't put it together.
Just can't put it together.
Just can't put it together.
The Ryan Leaf of fucking villains.
Just can't put it together, man.
I don't know. It makes you wonder.
You should have got the clue though at the beginning, right there in right when the G.I. Joe movie came out, when they had to bring in Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah.
And then they brought in, and then the Chicago Bears had the fridge, and they introduced the fridge as part of G.I. Joe. At that point, you're like, something's up.
What?
They're searching.
Insane.
They're searching for something.
They wanted. Do you think
that was the canary in the coal mine? I think the fridge was the canary in the coal mine.
The fridge, we should have known where they were headed. Now, I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get Webster as a G.I. Joe.
That would have been great. Have George Papadopoulos drop him off at G.I. Joe base.
Like a little Webster guy.
Have a little Webster guy, and then you get Papadopoulos. He drops him off.
Would you have mailed in for the Webster Joe?
That couldn't have been more than 2 proofs of purchase. You couldn't be asking 5 proofs. That couldn't be a 5 proof of purchase mail-in. That had to be 2, maybe 1.5.
Fucking Webster is like a fucking inch and a half. He's got a bullet belt and They give him like Roadblock's gun. It's just like this massive fucking. How great would that be? Holy shit! Why? That's why did they stop at Fridge?
Why stop at Fridge?
Why
Put a
stop-
backpack on the fridge and put Webster in the backpack.
And the
Make like a
basic,
little
he
Luke
just fucking
Yoda.
pops out of it like fucking
Yeah.
Banjo-Kazooie.
Like a little
Yeah.
Master Blaster
Yeah.
thing going on.
It's been fucking incredible.
Who runs G.I. Joe? Webster runs G.I. Joe.
Gee, Webb. And then George is there at the end to give him a lesson. Hey, George.
Picks him up. How was your
Fridge.
day, Webb?
Hey, Fridge. I just think that the Cobra Law shit, like, I loved it. I was a kid. I was like, holy shit. Like, this is crazy.
Snake people.
Snake people. This is fucking incredible.
Nemesis Enforcer.
Oh, God. Up until the Ultimate Warrior Honky Tonk Man treatment that Slaughter gave him.
Squash. Terrible.
Just squashed it. What a
You don't take G.I. Joe and completely give us the swerve of Cobra Law and build up
Right.
that whole thing,
Right.
and then you have a Nemesis Enforcer, and then you just have Sergeant Slaughter come down and squash him.
beat the fuck out of him in 10 seconds.
That's Brock beating Undertaker at WrestleMania. It's like, why would you build Undertaker up for all these years
Just to have this happen.
just to have
Like,
this happen?
It's like what Bobby the Brain Heenan said about Goldberg. He should have gone 1,000-0. Like,
Right.
why he shouldn't have lost to anybody. Just
Why do you build Goldberg all the way up and then you cattle prod him and he loses? Like, why? Why do you do that? Well, you've wasted everyone's time.
You really have. Like, what are we here for then?
What are you
This
thinking?
guy, what the fuck? Now this also, Rickleman, if you might know this. So Eddie came across a new figure of Red Jackal, who basically
Jackal.
was Destro. Now, I'd never heard of this fucking guy.
Now,
And
my understanding of the origin of Destro
Yes.
was he's from a long line of Scottish arms dealers.
Yes.
And the mask that he wears is sort of symbolic with his family clan and gets passed
Right.
down from generation to generation. Isn't that the origin of Destro?
Is he a Highlander?
Maybe it's
Maybe.
it's
Could he
Sean
be
Connery.
By
But
the way,
that's what I thought.
yeah,
Nope.
I thought he was Scottish too. I thought he was part of some heritage of fucking.
He even
yeah.
he even sort of has a Scottish accent in a way, like a little
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, smidgy, smidgy.
smidge.
But it just smidge. But like, then you see this Red Jackal guy, Eddie, and Eddie just hit me like, who the fuck is this guy? And I looked him up, and I was like, wait, that was Destro before some Russian guy who then Cobra Commander defeated and then renamed Destro. And then why would he go along with that, Destro? Like,
Right.
I'm gonna get my ad. This guy's gonna
'Cause
call me a different name now. Like, I have
From
to just
what
sit
I
there and take
understand,
it?
fucking Destro had zero patience for Cobra Commander.
He
and would
wasn't really
threaten-
that hot on him.
He would threaten to leave at any time.
He was like a much more with it Starscream over there.
Yes. And this is what
yeah.
Red Jackal looked like.
What's the fucking difference?
It's Destro with a skull and crossbones. He's playing pirate ship.
How did they change anything? That's the weirdest part. He's Destro now. Well, what did they change? Rickleman, you probably, if you know this, dear Lord Ramble, if anyone listening knows this,
And then-
Ramble at the Ramble.
And what is the
podcast.
origin of Red Knock? Because that's the Baroness, but
That's
her
a
name was
Baroness.
Red Knock. She was Red Knock.
How red would you knock that if you get my
How would you knock that
Yeah,
shit
huh?
red? But
You
like
ready?
that makes
You
sense
ready?
because she has a Russian accent, right?
She is.
She's Russian, so that would make sense that she's Red Knock.
I'm very confused by it. Was G.I. Joe like He-Man, where they just like, depending on the fucking comic told you one thing, the cartoon told you another thing, the back of the fucking toy box told you something completely different too? Is that what G.I. Joe was as well? Is that what
It
we're
had
getting
to
at
be,
here?
right? Like, because that's Red Jackal and Red Knock.
It's just Boris and Natasha, but
It's Destro and the Baroness.
I don't.
So was it literally like the comic books from He-Man where it was just one sort of story
That's
for the
what I
toys?
wonder. Like, here, they're getting their own story. The cartoon tells its own story. The comic books tell their own shit.
I don't know. So if Rix knows or
anyone
Dahlin knows,
too, Ramble at the ramblepod.com.
because
The
I
fuck
thought
is
I was
this
a
Red
G.I. Joe
Jackal
fan.
shit?
I
Yeah,
thought I was a G.I. Joe
What-
fan, and this is surprising.
My world has just been upended.
I don't know who
Upended.
Red Jackal is.
It's like
and
if
I
you
don't-
showed me a figure of a Legend of Zelda character that was Ganon, but his name was like Mitch, And you're like, no, it's Mitch. And I'm like, well, I don't know what the fuck. I don't know any fucking Mitch in Zelda. Who the fuck's Mitch?
He's on a softball team.
Right, he's in a softball outfit. But he looks just like Ganon. But he's got like, hey, batter up, Mitch. And it's like, well, I don't know who the fuck Mitch is. I would be flummoxed, Eddie.
Yeah, he plays for Mitch's Auto Body. It's a fucking weekend softball league team.
It's a guy. This is a mystery. This is a massive.
It kind of shocks me because my understanding was Destro could at any moment just up and leave Cobra.
Right.
He was tired of losing and would just bail on him.
And now we find out that Cobra Commander basically like
bitched him.
Made him his pet.
Changed his
name.
No,
I'm calling you Destro from now on. Sorry. You're not the Red J. You're Destro. She's a Baroness. Come on.
So that's very confusing to me. That
flummoxed.
changes my whole opinion about Cobra Commander and who he is and how much more serious you have to take him as a villain.
So do we take back everything? See, that's where we come. Do we take back everything we said about him at the beginning? Did he really have it together? Did he really know what time it was?
Maybe.
At least with Destro. Maybe he's one of those guys who sucks, but he just cleaned house against Destro.
Yeah. He just had Destro's number.
He had Destro. He knew Destro. He just... If everyone else kicks his ass, Destro, he fucks up. Shouldn't be happening. You're like, why is this even happening? Nope, he's got Destro.
It was like Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Haku. Like, everyone beat Hacksaw Jim Duggan, but he owned Haku.
He got Haku. It made no sense ever.
Made no sense.
No fucking
Everybody
sense.
beat Duggan. Everyone beat Duggan.
Not Haku.
But not Haku. Like, he took the crown from him.
Okay. It makes no sense. Makes no fucking sense. I finally started watching Creature Commandos. The Creature Commandos.
Oh, yeah?
4 episodes in. Yeah.
I like it. I think it's
I don't
fun.
hate it. I don't love it. You know what I mean? I think it suffers from the James Gunn DC syndrome of like, let me just. I just think he tries too hard to be funny and edgy when he's in that world. And
there's a little bit. I mean, I like David Harbour. Have you gotten to Frankenstein yet?
Oh, sure, great.
David Harbour's Frankenstein.
Are the only 2 characters I would want to watch. Like
it sort of focuses on that going forward from here.
Right, and because like
that becomes what this.
I could give a shit about the robot or the fucking weasel or the fucking water person. I was just like,
I like the robot when he blew away the Nazis. I thought that was fun.
It was all right. You saw it coming a mile away.
You did. It wasn't a shocker. You knew it was happening.
Hey, let me buy you. And it's like, yeah, like it was. And then the balls on James Gunn to just make himself a little animated part of the intro. Like, what? Who the fuck does this? Who the fuck did this? That's why I'm worried. This motherfucker's ego is getting out of control, and he's just gonna start doing whatever the fuck he thinks is edgy and cool and funny. And it's like, hey, Elon Musk, go ahead and take over, fucking DC, and like this is what we're gonna get. I'm worried. I'm just a little worried.
All right, worried. I enjoy it. I think it's fun. I'm enjoying it.
It's okay. I mean, it's not a bad show. It was just like, I was like, okay, like, we get it. Like that's how I felt. Like every episode, I thought had something cool happen, and then also at the same time have we gotta sit through 3 minutes of this shit. Like it just seemed very. Like, again, he seems to need someone to go, hey, maybe a little less of that, a little more of that, and now that he does not have that, I'm a little worried because his Suicide Squad movie was a hunk, and so...
No, I didn't like that, but I did enjoy Peacemaker. So Peacemaker and Creature Commandos I've enjoyed.
I'll tell you, I thought the best scene in this show, even though the bride is the best character by a mile, the best scene in this show, though, was the fucking... vision that Cersei gives, where I thought that was pretty funny, where you see Gorilla Grodd like teaming up with the princess. I was like, oh, that was cool, but like, it was just like, all right.
There's a couple Easter eggs going forward. There's a couple little Easter eggs in there for what I guess he's planting seeds for other DCU stuff.
Right.
But.
We'll see. Again, not and I think it's also. Penguin is just an impossible act to follow with DC.
Yeah, to me that's a whole separate. I can't compare those two because
right. It's but yeah, man. But yeah, there we go. Good. Now I hate to do this because I really enjoyed this Ramble Radio.
Sure, me too.
By the way, subscribe to the Ramble, 5-star rating, positive text review.
Please, positive text review.
Welcome to all the new people. We really appreciate you joining in, and again to the returners. We love you and thank you for coming back. And but if you're new here, to the this happens on every Ramble Radio every Tuesday and Friday. We do have contractual
contractual obligations to Skeletor. Okay.
Of attorney.
Of attorney. Skeletor. We were a little confused talking about G.I. Joe and the origins of Destro being the Red Jackal. Is there anyone in Eternia, in the He-Man Masters of the Universe sort of world, where we may have thought they were one character, but they have a completely different origin story?
Eddie, that's a wonderful question, and I'm glad that you've asked me that. Only one person in this whole world has thrown me a loop-de-loop, and it's not it's not Prince Adam. I think he's just a swell fellow, nice little guy. I don't think he's got any big secrets. I like his company when I see him. An all right guy. I don't think there's anything going on with him, But I like Prince Adam. I think he's a good dude. But really, it's the sorceress. It's absolutely the sorceress.
Oh, okay.
I thought she was someone who wanted this dick, craved it, needed it. And then she's no one's ever been able to make me climax. Sorry. Get the fucking bullshit. And now she hasn't returned my calls. Never has for a couple of 100 years. I'm thinking, fuck her. She's a fucking loser. So I thought she was cool. Turns out she's a loser. That's it. That's right there. And that's I've written her volumes of poetry, which I don't want to burn in case I do get a chance to slip her the pork again. So I've kept them hidden. About 750,000 tons of poetry. You're wondering, oh my goodness, where are you going to leave? Where an attorney is big enough for you to hide all of those from anyone to find? Now go ahead, Eddie, ask.
Where?
He-Man's mother's pussy! You get it? Get such a big pussy. You get it voluminous. I can put all those, the entire complete works, every Encyclopedia Britannica ever written, just all stuffed in that giant coach of that fucking slut.
How does he not know about Adam and He-Man?
You think that would be
I thought you knew that.
so easy?
What about Adam and He-Man? One of them's a nice kid who's a bit of a dork. The other one has a mother whose pussy you can fucking land a plane in.
Cinesnob, Cody. The Cinesnob podcast. Please follow the Cinesnob podcast. Get them on Rotten Tomatoes. Eddie, where can all the
5 days a
folk
week.
find you? I'm so sorry. Because you kind of have to follow this with Cody.
I do.
Here.
It's rough until Cody gets back. 5 days a week, patreon.com, The Ralph Report, Tuesdays, Fridays, Ramble Radio, also on Wednesdays, Ramble Proper, and on Fridays, also Not Today with Jen Sturger.
You can find me in the same Ramble locales. You can find Eddie and Cody. I'm also streaming video games, Retro Rocha on Kick and Twitch most nights of the week. And then you can also find my YouTube channel, Retro Rocha, Kick and Twitch, just my name, Jerry Rocha on YouTube. Please find all of our things. Subscribe to all of our things. We love you all. We're glad to be back this week. Glad to see the new people. Glad to see the returning folk. We love you all until tomorrow for a Ramble proper.
Tomorrow.
Take care, everybody, and enjoy the music. Ooh.
Oh, there it is.
And again, if you want to submit lyrics, we're not stopping you. Are we, Eddie?
No, please. We encourage it.
Come on.
As much as we love the other two lyrics that we have.
We love those.
Love them.
We'll take more. Who's stopping us? You know what I mean? Shot. Come on. God damn. Whoop.
Red Jackal. I don't like it. I don't like
it either.
I don't like it.
This feels like something.
I like Destro's other origin story.
Way
Long
better.
line of
Scottish people.
arms dealers.
Or whatever. Yeah.
So much better.